So what if I told you that the best, most powerful advice on public speaking doesn't come from some modern guru or a viral TED Talk, but from a book written way back in 1915? Seriously, we're going to dive into this because a guy named J. Berg Esenwein laid out a blueprint for communication over a century ago that is, believe it or not, more relevant than ever.
And this quote right here, this is the core of his entire philosophy. It's so simple but so profound. Before you even think about where to put your hands or how to project your voice, he says you have to get the primary things right. And what are they? A mind that's full of knowledge and a heart that's warm with passion for your topic. Everything else, it's just decoration.
So, let's start right where he does, with the foundation. This is all about the work you put in long before you ever stand up to speak. This is about what's going on inside of you. Esenwein has this fantastic analogy comparing a speaker to an old-school 18th century apothecary, and he asks this really sharp question. Are you actually offering something valuable, the precious drugs that can help people, or are you just showing off beautifully decorated but totally empty containers? It's a heck of a question to ask yourself.
He really breaks that foundation down into these three key parts. First, a full mind. That means you've done your homework, you know your stuff inside and out. Then, a warm heart. You have to genuinely, truly care about what you're talking about. And finally, a dominant will, which just means you have real conviction. You believe in your message. Without these three, he says any speaking technique is just like putting fancy clothes on a mannequin. It might look the part, but there's nothing there.
All right, so you've got your foundation set. Now let's get to the next big idea from the book, which is this concept of reserve power. This is basically your unseen secret weapon. You know, you can think of it like an iceberg. The part of the speech the audience actually hears, that's just the tiny tip sticking out of the water. Your reserve power is that massive, invisible base of knowledge underneath. It's knowing 10 times more than you actually say. And when you have that deep well of knowledge, your words just land differently. They have weight. They have authority.
Okay, so how do you build up this reserve? Well, the book has a great warning here. It says, don't just go around repeating what other people have said. It calls this getting your milk from the milkman. You know, it's just secondhand information, filtered opinions. It lacks that real punch.
Instead, he says, you've got to go straight to the source. You have to get your milk directly from the cow. And what that means is relying on your own thinking, your own observations, and your own direct experiences. That's where real, unshakable authority comes from.
Okay, you have substance. You've built your reserve power. Now, and only now, is it time to talk about the delivery. And the book's single biggest warning here is to avoid committing what it calls the sin of monotony.
Ennui. It's a fancy word for just soul-crushing boredom. That feeling of listlessness you get when something is just dragging on. And where does it come from? Uniformity. A speaker who just drones on, same pitch, same speed, same volume, is an absolute audience killer. Guaranteed.
I love how the book explains the idea of tempo, or speed. It's so simple. Some ideas need that slow, steady, deliberate pace of an ox cart, to really let them sink in and feel heavy. But other moments, they need the energy and the speed of an express train to build excitement. A great speaker instinctively knows which one to use and when.
So it all comes down to one word, variation. You have to vary your pitch, the highs and lows in your voice. You vary your speed, your tempo, like we just saw. You vary your emphasis, punching certain words to give them power. And maybe most importantly, you learn to use the power of the pause. That silence gives your audience a moment to breathe, to think, and to really absorb what you just said.
We're almost there. We've got the foundation, we've got the delivery. But there's one last piece of the puzzle. This is the catalyst, the thing that takes a good speech and makes it absolutely unforgettable.
So let's recap. You've done all the work, right? Your mind is full, your heart is warm. You have that deep reserve power giving you authority. You're varying your delivery like a pro. But there's still one thing missing. What's that final spark that's going to light up the whole room?
The answer? It's enthusiasm. The book quotes Emerson here, and it's perfect. Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. This is it. This is the non-negotiable ingredient. It's the fire that brings all that substance to life. Without it, the most perfectly crafted speech is just a cold, lifeless thing.
And you gotta love this description from the book. Your enthusiasm is infectious. It's as contagious as the measles. When you are genuinely passionate and excited about your topic, the audience can't help but catch that feeling from you.
It literally spreads through the room and creates this amazing shared energy.
So let's pull all this together. We've just walked through this incredible, timeless blueprint for speaking that works just as well today in our world of screens and social media as it did in 1915.
And here it is, the whole journey in 4 simple steps. Step 1, start with your substance, that full mind and warm heart. Step 2, build that deep well of reserve power from first-hand knowledge. Step 3, vary your delivery to escape that sin of monotony. And finally, step 4, light the whole thing on fire with genuine, contagious enthusiasm.
You know, maybe the most empowering idea in the whole book is this one. He wants us to stop thinking of public speaking as some terrifying, scary performance. It's not. At the end of the day, it's just a conversation that's been enlarged. It's you, a human being, sharing something you care about with other human beings. That's all it is.
Look, our tools have definitely changed. We have microphones and cameras and global platforms they couldn't have even dreamed of in 1915. But have we, as people, really changed? The fundamentals of connecting with each other, the need for substance, for passion, for real enthusiasm, that's timeless. So the real question this century-old book leaves for you and me is this: what warm heart and full mind will you choose to share?